So here's my magic tip to any agent that, as you said, you got to sort of stop them in their tracks, the customer, and get them to believe that trust factor, trust the choice.
This is the Insurance Technology Podcast, where we bring interesting people from across the insurance ecosystem to discuss and debate technology's impact on the industry. Join us each episode for insights and best practices from industry stewards and tomorrow's innovators. Now, here's your host, Reid Holsworth.
All right, we're back with Chip Bacciocco from Trusted Choice. In this episode, we're going to get into what Chip coined the Producer Availability Challenge and what he and his team are doing to solve this epic problem. It's really cool stuff. Stay tuned. It's going to be awesome.
You're exactly right. And we encounter the exact problem that you have described every day. So the challenge, I now call it the Producer Availability Challenge. The
Producer Availability
Sounds
Challenge.
very fancy, academic. Sounds like we researched it.
It's very PC.
Sounds like there's math behind it.
Suck at that.
Yes, well, they do. They suck. So we've had our own site, secret shopped, whatever you call that, secret shopper. You know, when you have somebody, right? I've even had board members, executives of nice insurance companies that have gone to the site and said, Chip, I'll secret shopper it for you. And they put in their real house and their real cars. And they have nice houses and nice cars.
Yep.
And they hit, choose a couple agents, and the same thing as you. Nobody freaking called them. How is that possible? Then they'll let me know usually 48 hours later. I did it. It's been 48 hours. And maybe by the, in the 44th hour, they heard from one guy, right? We've had employees do it. I've done it. Doesn't matter. Insurance, what they think mistakenly is that they have time, and they don't have time. You're exactly right? So I don't know why they think this, by the way, because in the rest of their lives, they expect everything else to be instantaneous. When they're doing their Christmas shopping this month on Amazon.com, right? And they're like, I'm going to buy my wife a popcorn maker or whatever you're going to do. And they go through and they see all the different choices and they go, I want that one. They would never accept not hearing back from Amazon as to whether their order was placed and when it would be delivered. They wouldn't wait 2 days for that, would they? They'd be like, I pushed the little buy button and nothing happened, right?
Right.
And that's what we do to them in the IA channel historically, is they push the button on whatever web, it could be an agency website, trustedchoice.com, lots of other places.
Yeah.
They push the button and nothing happens. I mean, maybe they get a little thank you for submitting your thing. We'll be back to you shortly.
Yeah.
That's not good enough, right? They want to know, to your point, they had to solve their problem that afternoon. They wanted to place, especially business insurance. They got other things to do, right? I need a certificate of insurance. I need my GL placed today. I'm going to spend 2 hours on this. If that agent is not talking to that customer in less than 10, 15 seconds, they go to the next website and they do it all over again. You've lost them. Yep. The first person, I loved what you said when you said the first person I talked to. I've been trying to teach agents for years because we record all the phone calls too that come through trustedchoice.com. So I've heard the train wreck conversations, and I've heard lots of them. Like when they make the person answer the same set of questions 3 times, first they answer them all for the receptionist. Then they go to the next screener. They answer the same question. Yeah. They go to the next screener. They're like, are you kidding? I've told my last name 3 times now, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a train wreck with all that stuff. So,
by the way, I want to talk about that real quick.
Sure.
Because in our agency, we did studies on that. Like, we had super high conversion ratios once we get somebody on the phone.
Yep.
That's the reality. And what we did was, and so like when we had the agency, my ex-partner and I, we had crazy high conversion ratios. I'm not even going to say it because people aren't going to believe me. Mm-hmm. But like, why? Because we knew what questions to ask very quickly. We knew what to say.
Yep.
And we could quote it real quick for them. Like, we were just experts on that. When we started scaling our agency, we started adding people. Their conversion ratios were like shit compared to ours. Well, we pulled the calls and recorded every call, right? And so we pulled all the calls, and they were doing just that. What happens is that they would get the call, and they would ask them like 10 questions, right? And this is like, it's all different types of things, but like the majority of it was this. They'd ask 10 questions, they'd hang up, they go, okay, let me call you back. They call them back again, and they go, oh, wait, I forgot to ask you this thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, blah, 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 blah. Hang up, call them back again, blah, 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 blah. Now, by that time, somebody's probably already on the phone with them.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's somebody, like some of these guys that I used to work with and even us in our agency has pure script, the whole nine, as an actual flow, like a wizard, where you're asking questions, all conditional. Oh, do you own a home? Yes. Oh, okay. This address? Oh, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Ask a couple homeowners questions. Even though they're getting an auto quote, you're still quoting them home insurance at the same time. Stuff like this. They're going through a flow. Oh, your phone's ringing. Oh, don't worry about that. That's just one of my. I've been in call centers where guys are like, oh, don't worry about it. That's one of my colleagues calling you right now. Don't even answer it.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, 100%. I've seen people do that shit. These guys are pros. Anyways, and so what would happen though is if you ask the same question multiple times, or you hang up and call them back to ask them more questions.
Yep.
You lose confidence.
Oh, 100%.
In that prospect.
Yep.
That prospect is just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I'm going in circles.
Exactly. Yep. Or like you just said, I just gave that to Jeff. I just gave that to Mary.
Right.
Why am I doing this again? And so
they still don't know if they're going to get help at the end. So here's my magic tip to any agent that, as you said, you got to sort of stop them in their tracks, the customer, and get them to believe that trust factor, and choice, that trust factor that this is going to work out okay. There's going to be some questions, but this is going to work out okay. And here are the magic words. And I've heard it on the phone. So I did not come up with this. I learned it. The customer states what their challenge is. And then this is what I want the agents to say. If they can do it, I can help. Mm-hmm. Just those three. That's it.
Yeah.
I can help.
Yep.
I've heard the voice of the customer. You can feel the stress come out of them.
Yeah.
Now they're prepared to answer questions.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to know that if I answer the questions, you're going to help me.
That's a great
We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
Right? If all I do is answer questions, it's all one-sided.
Yep.
Tell me your name. Tell me this. Tell me that. Like, why? I'm telling you an awful lot of stuff. Yep. And then I have to tell it again to the second person. And I still don't know if this has any positive outcome for me. As we go through all this and you say, go to hell, we can't help you. That's a waste of my time. Tell me now. Can you help me or not? Mm-hmm. And so when I've heard agents go, whatever you start, I'm looking for insurance for my 2 cars.
Yep.
I can help.
Yeah.
I can help. Let's walk through it.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I can help. Just say those words.
I like that.
And then do something.
That's really good.
Then there's a little process.
I think, what we used to do, I don't remember the exact script, but what we used to do too is we'd say, listen, we have X amount of carriers, all the markets out there. We have this huge inventory of products that we can offer you. So I'm just going to collect a bunch of information from you. And we're going to help you out. We're going to find what makes the most sense for you.
Yep.
And it's funny, we won so many deals because of that, like saying that. And the other thing too is they go, oh, well, I just got a quote from this guy down the street, whatever it was, and it was less money. I said, oh, who was it? And they'd say who the carrier was. And I said, no, it's not that. It's this. Right. And they go, no, it's not. It's cheaper. I said, you watch. When you go into there, it's fine. You can go ahead and buy it. I'm telling you right now, I'm a professional at this, blah, 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 blah. But go ahead and go quote it. They'd go down to that office to buy that policy, and it would come back to what we were saying.
Yep.
And they would walk out of that office and come back and buy the policy from us.
I'm told that happens all the time.
All the time.
But getting back to the, I can help. You have to get to the point where you can say that in a timely manner. This is the first part we were talking about. You can't wait a day, then call them back and go, what do you need? Oh, I need help with my house insurance. Oh, I can help. That won't work.
Right.
Because they've already talked to 7 people. You missed it.
Yeah.
So go back to that Amazon.com. This is what I call the producer availability problem. Here's the issue. It's not, I used to think that the agents were just lazy. They're not. I mean, they are. There's some that are. But that's really, mostly they're just busy.
Yeah.
They are helping some other damn customer.
It's prioritizing though.
Yeah. They're literally on the phone with customer, 24.
Yeah. And
if 25 comes in, they can't drop the phone and be talking to them in 5 seconds. And I want them talking in 5 seconds. So, or they're whatever. We all live lives. Remember, agencies are relatively small. Right?
Totally.
They have 4 producers, 5 producers.
Yep.
How could any one of them be available like as fast as a State Farm giant call center could be? Right? You can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I call the producer availability challenge. And it's unique to the IA system, which is we have all these independent agents, and pick any town you want, Cincinnati, Ohio. If you added up all the independent agents as if they all worked for one company, I'm going to make a number up here. There's 500 of them, whatever, that are producers that are qualified to help you with something. But you can't call one number to get distributed to 500 to see who's available right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to pick one out of the 15 or 16 agencies. You pick one, and maybe, possibly, somebody is ready to talk to you right now, but probably not. Then you have to find the next one, find the next one, find the next one. So TrustedChoice.com has really figured out that this is the issue, the challenge that we can step in and solve. And we do it through, I know you've heard me talk about this before, Claim It. So Claim It, or if you remember, is just Uber for insurance agents, meaning we take in that prospect and we realize, okay, we have a pizza shop. I'll switch to commercial lines. We have a pizza shop. You know, I always do barbershop, but I'll do pizza shop.
Yeah, there it is. I use barbershop all the time too. You say that.
Yeah, I know. So I'll use pizza shop. It's the same thing. Yeah. No chairs, like people throwing dough in the air. Probably some kind of hazard there I don't know about. But anyway, hot dough. The pizza shop owners looking for insurance, they come to TrustedChoice.com or anywhere. They come to some part. If we can capture that pizza shop owner for just a second, just have enough information about them, like it's a pizza shop. We know the person's name. We know how many years they've been in business, maybe how many employees, and what are they looking for? Work comp, general liability, whatever. That's all we really need. We don't need enough to underwrite the darn thing.
Yeah.
Just get enough. Oh, it's Joe's Pizza Shop. And then we know at TrustedChoice.com, because of that giant network of independent agencies, we know who the agencies are in Cincinnati. And if they'll tell us, we know a lot, but we'd love to know more about which ones of them love to write pizza shops and have other pizza shops as clients. That's the appetite part. We also know which IA insurance companies have an appetite in Cincinnati to write pizza shops. We put all that puzzle together inside of our system, and then we poll 15 or 20 local producers in Cincinnati that we know have appointments with insurance companies that can write a pizza shop, and that they themselves, that agency, wants to write a pizza shop. And we poll them in real time on their phone and go, we have a pizza shop. Who can help right now? Right now being the most important words. Who can help right now? Just like Uber. Who can take Reid to the airport right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? One of them goes, I'll take Reid to the airport. And they click their little button and boom, that driver is on his way to you. We do the same thing with insurance producers. So we believe, and we're really seeing some math on this, that could solve the independent agency producer availability challenge. That we're going to basically have this giant network of producers all across the country. When an opportunity comes in real time, we will poll and just ask them, who can help this customer right now? And when they push that button, boom, they're hopefully, if it's a warm transfer, they push that button, they're in a conversation immediately with that customer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's where we got to get to. And that's what we're going to work on. We've really made a lot of progress here at the end of 2022. And 2023 is going to be all about building out that Claim It capability even further. So,
unfortunately, I mean, just being real on this, I mean, because I could see a lot of people clicking it and going, "Oh, I'm available," and they're really not, and they don't call.
Well,
and
they have to pay money right then and there, Reid.
Yeah, okay,
right?
There you go. Yeah.
Skin in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Skin in the game. So, I mean, you can do that if you're just frivolous with $30 at a time,
right?
Or whatever the price is going to be for various leads. But that's
And then I would also assume that you're going to have to do a deal with the national kind of call centers in some ways, where these local guys, they just don't want it. It goes to somebody that's going to take it.
We will.
Because what infuriates me about this, we talked about this before, it really does piss me off. Like, what happens is when you guys are doing all this marketing, somebody comes into to TrustedChoice.com, they submit their information to get a quote through an independent agent, and nobody calls them. What happens? They go to frickin' a captive.
They do.
And guess what? You name a captive, not going to name names. They're going to answer the phone. And they're going to give you a quote right then and there.
Right. That's certainly for personal lines. You bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right away.
Yeah. Commercial, a little bit different. But generally speaking, I mean, that's what happens. And that's all that marketing, everything you guys done to, tell the customer that they should live in the IA channel. Boom, now they're gone.
I know, and that's a tragedy. I think the good news, as we make, at the end of the day, I think everyone needs or wants to know there's some human being that's looking out for them and their insurance needs. Now, if you're, I remember when I was, we were talking about when we were young and crazy, and I was an intern in Chicago, and I needed a renter's policy. I didn't even have. You get a renter's policy and like a non-owned auto kind of thing. It's very little. You could buy that online. You don't really need an agent. I didn't even care, to be honest with you. My parents said you have to have it, so I was just trying to make them happy, right? Yes, I have a renter's policy, right? But once you have a family, once you have property, anything to protect, you have kids, you have a wife, you have a spouse, whatever it is. or you have any kind of business, right? You have like even 2 or 3 other families that depend on that business to keep going. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, you can't just say to everybody, well, I pushed the button on the website. I thought I was covered, right? You want to have somebody. I know Mary, and Mary looked me in the eye and said, you're covered. Mm-hmm. And, right? So true. There's value to having that. We just have to get better as an industry, a lot better, as you're saying and I'm saying too. We have to get a lot better at being much faster and much more responsive.
You know what the other thing too is funny is in the IA channel, I feel like a lot of agents are picky about the stuff they write too.
Totally.
And it's like, why?
I don't know
why. It's like, I don't want that non-standard business. I don't know. I run a business and my business is to drive as much premium as possible. If you're non-standard and you're paying $700 a month for auto insurance, I would rather write that policy than 10 $700 a year auto policies. Why do you not want that? And that's what's crazy. You have to have the markets for it. Yep. You're not going to put that with, the Hartford Travelers or Liberty or something, or, not going to continue to name names, but you know what I mean? You put that with the company that it makes sense for.
Yes. Right.
And so it's like, that's part of it too. It's like, nah, I don't want it because it's not exactly what I want. And like, it's crazy. I used to, back when we had the agency, we'd write everything. I'd go to our people they'd go to all of the captive agencies, State Farm, Allstate, Nationwide, Farmers, all of it. We had somebody go out every day and they'd go out and they'd buy them all cookies and they'd say, send me all the shit you don't want. Literally, send me the shit. And you know what? I'll tell you, this is a great sales thing for you guys in local market. Go to the captives and be like, hey, we love all the stuff you guys don't want. Because here's what happens. Mary and John Smith get a DUI, right? Mary gets a DUI, let's just say. Mm-hmm. State Farm cancels it, okay? Mm-hmm. What are they going to do? They're like, yeah, we got to cancel all of your insurance. That agent has been working with them for 20 years, and they have all their kids' stuff and their family and all this. They don't want to say, sucks to suck, go on the internet.
No.
They want to say, hey, I got a guy that's, like to your point, that's going to help you.
Yep.
Right? You help them, and then all of a sudden, sure, maybe the personal auto is non-standard, but then you get all the commercial lines.
Right.
All the personal lines. You get all of that. Like, why do you not? Like, people are like, no, I don't do that kind of stuff. I just laugh at them. Like, why would you not?
I don't know. I mean? The one that bothers me more, your example is totally valid, but the one that bothers me is when they don't want to write just a renter's policy.
Yeah, it's not worth my time.
Because that person,
it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. That person is going to become a 35-year-old and a 45-year-old, and they're going to have a bigger family, and they're going to maybe have a business. And you're denying yourself the opportunity to have, yes, a non-profitable relationship right now.
Yeah.
But so what? It's an investment, right? Make a friend.
That's right.
Make a friend. You can never in this world do wrong by making a friend.
But that's like, so have somebody in your office that's focused on
that.
The younger person that's getting started in the industry.
Yes, absolutely.
Renter's policy, done. You know what? Track it. Put it in the system.
Totally.
Conversion ratios.
Yep.
What are they doing? What are they closing? Right?
Yep.
Oh, what are they cross-selling? I mean, I can tell you right now, when I was an agent, I was 2.66 policies per customer.
Yep.
Like literally, like what's your policies per customer? Like, how are you cross-selling? Because that's just it. If they're renting, they probably have a car.
They do, right? They will.
And
right.
they probably have friends that have the same thing.
Well, that's my other strategy. I'll have some agents say, "Well, I don't want to do an RV or I don't want to do a snowmobile."
Oh, that's another one.
I'm like, if anybody that owns a snowmobile,
that's
not the only thing they freaking own. Are you kidding me? A snowmobile? He owns a snowmobile. This is totally a toy.
Yeah.
He owns, so he's got to have a car and he's got to have a house. She's got to have a house. So those kinds of things, thinking a little bigger. I have had a couple of agents that really were very creative. There was an agency that wanted to buy all the flood leads. I'll use the word leads. I'm getting used to it. Opportunities, referrals, whatever. I want all the flood stuff by itself, monoline.
Yeah.
And a lot of agents were like, I don't want to do it.
Dude,
but but there's a house that comes with it. You don't buy it, right? There's other stuff. I mean, anybody plus it always signals to me that it's a responsible person. Like like some people avoid buying flood, right? Unless they're told they absolutely have to and the mortgage company needs it and blah, blah, blah. But if somebody just voluntarily steps forward and says, I just want to have flood, just in case.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's like a responsible person. They're like protecting everything. That's like the dream risk. That's what you want. So there's little signals in the market. You got to think ahead. Where will this person be later? Who might they know? How do I,
That's what
that takes time.
It's developing that. But I think going back to your point about the producer availability, I think as a producer or an agency owner becomes more mature and they have that book, the reality is they're dealing with kind of their core set of customers all the time in things, real estate developers, huge corporations, whatever it may be, high net worth individuals. And so, they because I've been there. And you're busy, right? You have a lot. But here's the thing, guys. Hire somebody to take that stuff.
Yep.
Why not continue to grow your book? Why not put some technology around this stuff to start to track it?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out there. I bet 80% of the agencies that are listening to this right now aren't tracking conversion ratios.
Oh, for sure.
They don't know.
They don't know that. Well, and another one they don't know is they don't know their cost to acquire the next customer.
Acquisition cost.
They don't know their acquisition cost. They don't know a lot of things. I'm not going to beat up on them too much because I think you could try to calculate it and then somebody else could kind of look over your shoulder and say, you forgot to include that. And you forgot to include, it's easy to get it wrong. You could think, and you might not really know. But they should. You're right. They should.
So and it's funny, hey, you want to start doing that? It's cool. Hey, you got to start somewhere. Start tracking that. See what your, as the agency owner's conversion ratio is, as opposed to one of your new agents that's coming in.
Yeah.
Guaranteed yours is way higher.
Yeah.
Why? Teach them that.
Right.
Then you start to make more money, and then it's repeatable. I mean, that's what's called predictable revenue. Read the book. Yeah. Great freaking book, by the way. Predictable revenue. That's how you really grow this thing. So you say, hey, every new agent has this conversion ratio. Our customer acquisition cost is X amount, right? Our lifetime value is X amount. Hey, we bring in a person, it costs us X amount of dollars. They produce X amount, which equals X amount.
Yep.
When they get to this level, then I bring in another one and another one and another one. And that's how you grow.
You're thinking of scale. You're thinking of scale as scale,
but that's how my brain works.
And you're thinking of it as a math formula.
Yes.
And I remember actually another thing I learned at some point in my career was that sales was not just an art form. I think when I was early on, I thought sales is an art form. You just have to have the gift of communication and persuasion. And then later on, I'm like, no. It's actually math. It's just, you have to know which conversations to get yourself into, how frequently, make enough of them, and let the math play out.
The reason why those guys had a 60+% conversion ratio or 56% conversion ratio was because they brought in the leads that fit them perfectly. They knew exactly what they were good at, where the sources were, the scripts to put on that, the whole nine. They had dialed it in. They didn't start there. They didn't just wake up one day and, hey, we're the best at this.
Right.
They started at crap like everybody else, but then they used technology to monitor what the people were doing and the data to tell them and give them insights about, hey, we should grab from over here because, once again, our conversion ratios are better there. People don't even track lead sources, man. Like, that's the simplest thing. Just start tracking lead sources. Where are leads coming in? Oh, hey, how'd you hear about us? Like, simple.
But they have to. It is simple, but so that's an interesting one. How'd you hear about us? So a lot of times now people will just say the internet. Well, that's not enough.
Right.
Like, which path on the internet? Right. You got to kind of figure out. Well, did you end up on our agency website? Did you end up on our Facebook page? Did you find us through trustedchoice.com? Did some maybe you landed on an insurance company page and they were, they had an agent locator and you came that way. So I know that's a lot to torture people with, but maybe I'm not even advising that they do torture them when they get them on the phone and that bad, but try to find a little bit out and try to find out, again, mathematically, where are they coming from? Because then you're right. You can reinvest in those segments. The scalability, too many agencies they kind of grew up thinking, and it's a good attitude to have, that we're here to help people. Right. So they start on service. And how many agencies have you heard say when they say, well, it makes you special? Service. We have the best service, right? They all have the best service.
Yeah, right.
And but it reflects their own attitude and it's a good attitude that they're there to serve, right?
Yep.
That's my job. I help people with insurance. But if that's all you ever think about is just helping, and you never think about the math of your business and how to scale. Like you said, you have it down to like a formula.
Yeah.
Right. If I can do this and if I can make a margin, all I have to do is then just hit repeat.
Right. And easier said than done.
Sure.
You got to have the right people and all of that, but you start to build that muscle. You know what to look for over time. But it's actually not that complicated. I think in our industry it's tough because, like you said, we're helpers, right? And we help people, and we really feel for our customers. I mean, at least I do. But you have to remember, we're running a freaking business, man.
Yeah, we are.
Like, if you're running a business, and what does a business do? It drives revenue, drives profit, right? And what does that do? And people they're like scared to talk about that stuff. No, that's how you impact other people. Because if you're driving a business that's profitable, you can hire more people.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? If you're super profitable, give the money away, charity, do things, impact others. But hey, just by your business making money and you spending money on shit, that drives the economy. It's good. So, do that and do that the best you can. But just by you saying, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't have time for that, or this, that, and the other. Okay, I get it. You want to sail into retirement.
Yep.
That's like rich dad, poor dad shit. That's working in the business, not on the business.
Yep.
Right. Those are good books. I mean, they're old. They're kind of funny, but I did read that shit back in the day. But it is that, right? It's working in the business, not on the business. I have a friend, really good friend of mine. He owns a motorcycle custom shop here in Milwaukee. It's called Modified. Awesome guy. He's a good friend of mine. And I've helped him with his business. And it's funny because he's an artist. The guy's a freaking artist, man. He really is. But he has so much customers, so much work coming in all the time. He can't handle it. And it's simple stuff like that. It's like, dude, you need to step back and start to look at what's profitable. I know you want to help everybody, but you can't. Take a step back and start to look at it. What's coming in? Yep. You can't do a tire change for $20 anymore. Yep. Hey, my minimum ticket's $250 because I'm so busy. Right. I'm sorry. I'll do tires and do all kinds of other custom cool shit if you want that. But it's that kind of mindset. And it's so hard when you're in the business, you started it from nothing and you're just scrappy, just grinding as an agent. Yep. And then you hire the CSRs and now they're helping you in this. And it's stepping out of that and going, what is going to drive profitability? So
Pat Gallagher had another thing that he said, and this was one of those, again, early career lessons that at the time, I don't think I knew what the hell he was talking about, but it has resonated over the years. And he said, nothing happens until a sale is made. And I would go, of course a lot happens. To me, that didn't make any sense. What do you mean nothing happens until a sale is made? What he meant was, if there's not a sale at the end, the sale was the goal. That was the purpose. Mm-hmm. If there's no reason to put a whole lot of work into an account in terms of how we're going to service it. Don't get all focused on servicing accounts. Figure out how we're going to win a client. Yep. After we've won a client, then we'll help the hell out of them. That's right. But make sure we've won a client. And I think this is what also lends itself a little bit to the Insurtech space. Because if I do have some advice for our Insurtech friends, and whenever you're about to build technology, right? So in the technology business, we have all this fixed cost that we have to put into every damn product, right? Yep. And so we're okay, we're going to build this platform. We're going to build this. We're going to write all this code. And I've often had some pushback from, people that work for me or that I've worked with. And I've even been guilty earlier in my career saying, well, we're going to build this product and then we're going to sell it. And I think as I've gotten older, I go, no. Let's sell it first. Mm-hmm. Meaning, let's find out that we have a paying customer that wants to buy this. Yes. Let's make sure that's absolutely solid. If possible, we can even get a check. Which, by the way, that's what Henry Ford did, right? He actually sold his cars before he ever built them because he sold them to dealers. Mm-hmm. He would go out to dealers all over the Midwest. He started there and he'd say, hey, I'm going to send you 20 cars next spring, okay? Here's what it's going to look like. I need a check. So you'll be the first dealer in town to get them. Okay, here's a check, Mr. Ford. And he would use that check to go finance actually building the cars. They didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And to some degrees, we have to do that too. If I was today going to start another a brand new Insurtech company, and you've done a couple, but right, you want to know for sure, not just, I feel it in my bones. This is going to be a great product and agents are going to want it. Insurance companies are going to love it, right? Okay, that's great. Good. It's good to have that in your bones, but it's a lot better to have this company's going to buy it and they're going to pay X, and this company's going to buy it and I've got letters of intent or handshakes or something, 100%. Right? To know that you have customers lined up. Then as soon as you do, then go back and build it.
Yeah. The other thing too, I talk to so many guys in the industry, startups, and they're like, I have this big blah, 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 right? All this stuff. And like, that's great. Get somebody to buy it.
Yep.
Like you said, that is a big leap.
Big leap.
Big leap.
So you might as well do it first.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, get them to buy it. And it's funny because then you get these guys that are smart. Like I've talked to a few of them recently, and they're like, I have all these guys. They are ready to buy this thing. Like you said, letters of intent. Like, some of them have even funded me and helped me. Like right. They really believe in what I'm doing. That's something. That's something, because you're so right. And it's funny because like so many companies in technology, not even in our industry, but just technology in general, they go out, they build this thing, and it never takes off because they never sell it.
They never sell it. So let's give credit to Pat Gallagher. I'll give you the quote again. Nothing happens. He said it this way, and it confused me. Nothing happens until a sale is made. And that's what he meant. The rest, don't build anything. Sell it first. Then you can invest your life in it. Pour yourself into it. But don't just pour yourself into something and have no customer. That's every business. And it's as a small business, and I've talked about this before, they call it like the entrepreneurial stage where everybody they love it. And it is fun. Like I pick my logo and I do this and I spend all this time building the systems and doing this and blah, 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 blah. I've worked at those guys in the past and we wouldn't sell them our system. I'd be like, sorry, dude, can't sell it to you. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, just not going to do it. Right now, you need to go out and close some freaking deals. Go close some deals. And here's the reality is selfishly, what happens there is we spend a ton of time with these guys and they go belly up in a year. Yeah. Right. And it just doesn't work. What's funny is many years ago, I was looking at HubSpot actually for marketing automation. And I remember the sales guy. I always mess with sales guys because I always try to dig in and why are you asking me that? Why is that? The mechanics of it all. Yep. And he said, we won't sell this to you unless you have a dedicated admin. And I'm like, really? You're not going to sell me this shit? And he's like, no, we won't do it. Can't do it. And I'm like, why? I'm like, why is that? And I'm like, give me the real deal. And he said, well, because first and foremost, I get comped on year 2. And you're not going to stick around, right? And he's like, if you don't have a dedicated person, because we found this thing it's ugly, it's hard, it's a lot to do, and a lot of people just want to buy it and they have the thing and they tell everybody they have the thing, but they never actually implement it and use it. And then 2 years from now, I don't get paid my commission that I want to get paid. Yep. So he's like, I'm not going to sell it to you until you have a dedicated admin. And that's, it's so true, right? In technology. And so that's part of it is a lot of people get caught up in building the best, nicest thing. It's like building the most awesome race car and putting tons of money into it and never learning how to drive. Right. Yes. I crush guys with expensive cars in these old cars. Crush them because they don't know how to drive. They don't know how to drive. I raced a freaking McLaren not that long ago in my GT350 Shelby, 2018. That McLaren will crush that car, hands down. I crushed him. And it was awesome. The guy was super cool about it. He wasn't mad about it, but the reality is that's the same thing. It is. You can buy it, build it, do all this stuff, but you really need to learn how to drive. Yeah. And your point here is you got to sell shit. You got to sell shit. That's how it works. We're running business. A business needs customers. Make sure you have customers. If they build it, they will not come. That's true. And I know that's the romantic thing. I've got this idea and I'm going to write this software and it's going to be great. No, don't be romantic. Don't be romantic. Now, I will say though, to be fair, there's a lot of people that have pedigree, right? Mm-hmm. I have friends in this world that have done it. They've built companies. They know it. They have huge networks, right? It's a little bit different. When they build it, they will come. They will. Well, the most famous example maybe is Steve Jobs. I mean, he would make products that everybody would go, that's dumb. No one's going to buy it. And he'd go, I'm not taking any input. I know exactly what it should do. I know exactly what it should look like. I know you think it looks alien. It's going to be fine. Yeah. Right. And they kicked him out of his own company because he can't design anything. There are a few that have that gift, but for most people, when you're risking your career, your capital, your friendship, whatever it is, why not sell it first? And I just, that's been my advice for a while. Sell it first. And when I say sell it, just share the idea, make sure people, don't do it unethically. You're not like you're selling things that don't exist.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to build. This is what it's going to do. This is what it's going to do for you.
Yep.
Here's what I need from you. And if they're there then and they write, if you build it, Chip, I will buy it, and put it in writing or something. And like I said, give them a check. You can get a discount now. Pay now. This is your coupon. You can buy it later. You'll be first in line, but I need a check.
Yep.
Then go build it.
Yeah.
You're doing everybody a favor. Do it then.
I think it depends. Sometimes you got to build a little bit to
Well, you got to build enough to.
Yeah.
You got a proof of concept. Nothing wrong with that, right?
But it's the gold plating. That's why they say developers should never be a CEO or run a software.
That's where I was really going, right?
Yeah.
I talk to my software developers, and they're all such purists. They're idealists, and we're going to build this thing, and it's going to be better than the pyramids, and I just look and I go, and I was that guy, right? I remember I was a young idealist. I was, and there's people out there that are listening that know, oh my God, Chip, you were the guilty guy. You always had this vision. You were going to build this thing, and then everyone would buy it. And so I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
It's great to have a vision. You got to have a vision, but make sure you have a customer before you build the entire damn thing.
And it's iterative, right? I mean, you build as you go, and that's the thing. When you sell something and somebody puts down some hard-earned cash on something, they're going to help mold that into what makes sense for their business. Right?
Absolutely,
100%.
So on that frame, right, we probably need to talk about agents a little bit. So if you're selling a product to independent insurance agents, which many of our friends are, and I guess I am too.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. You have to understand, right, and most of us do, if you've met one independent agent, you've met one independent agent.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't. I wish we could generalize. I mean, you can for some things, They are challenged to answer the phone and so forth, but they all are unique, and that's their strength. Their strength is their diversity of skill sets and talents and location and size and experience and appointments and a million other things. Mm-hmm. So their diversity in that way is their strength, but it's also the challenge when you're trying to sell a product to them and trying to get them to use that product. Mm-hmm. And you really have to be prepared for the fact that they are, I don't know. All the agency managements, and you ran one. You ran a great one, right? And every agency wants to use your tool a little bit differently, didn't they?
Oh, 100%.
You built one tool.
You know what? I'll tell you. You know what's funny about that, though, Chip? It's true shit. So it's funny because we would sell, because it's all in Salesforce. Those who don't know, and it's all we built it native to Salesforce, so they could declaratively build whatever the hell they want, right? We always sell this thing: sky's the limit, build whatever you want. We sold a shit ton of agencies because of that. But I'll tell you, man, they all did it different. Everybody does everything different. But I'll tell you, probably 90% of our customers used it as it is. Mm-hmm.
Right. And survived.
And they did well. They knew, they changed a couple small things, but they weren't doing I don't know, I'll just name a few, what InBroker was or name a cover. They were our customers, all these crazy Insurtechs that built all kinds of shit, right? Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, they kind of did some little stuff to make it kind of custom to them, and that was all they needed, right? But they love the idea of technically being able to do whatever they want. But you're right in that they do. Their businesses are all different. They are. Technology's kind of the same.
Kind of the same.
Yeah.
They want to think that because their business is different, they want to bend your product. And there's some happy balance, because remember, the other thing that I would remind the insurance agencies and the insurtechs is that I'll go back to that quote I said earlier in our conversation, right? The silicon is easy, carbon is hard.
Yeah.
So it's actually the change management within the agency. It's a brand new tool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Brand new tool. Here's the brand new tool. And here the agency owner says, here, we're going to use this tool. It's going to be great. We're going to be able to finally track our acquisition costs.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is.
100%.
Right? And he's all excited. And all the people are like, I didn't used to have to click on this stupid thing. I didn't used to have to do this. I didn't used to have to type in here. Right? And so they're all finding little ways to undermine your thing, mm-hmm. right? And they don't mean to be, counterproductive. They're not I'm waking up in the morning, I'm going to undermine my boss.
Yeah.
But it's just their natural. This goes back to what we were talking about too. Humans are awesome at adapting, and the only thing they hate to do, nothing they hate to do more than change. Mm-hmm. So it's that yin and that yang that we just have to deal with. But so when you're building a product for agencies, and you would know better than me, be prepared that everyone's going to want to use it a little differently. So be flexible as the vendor. But to your point, don't be too flexible so you end up with 17 different implementations you can't support. Oh, 100%. Right? And there's no user. You couldn't have a user group meeting and no one would agree on how the thing worked. That would be terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say something to that too. This is like advice on technology. One version. Everybody's on the same version.
Right.
You can't do different versions for different people. That is bad news. That'll bite you. But yeah, you're right. It can't be so complex where you have all these different templates and all these things, because to support that, train that, implement that, it's a nightmare.
And they can't even teach each other, because the other thing you want is a little cross-pollination of ideas and best practices, right?
Yep.
So among those agents, we have all these thousands of agencies. I really like the idea. Several different people lately have tried to come up with these ideas. So let's let agents talk to each other about what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's a really great thing. Because then they can start sharing. But if everybody's doing everything totally differently, then there is no way to share. You have to share how to use, say, 3 or 4 solutions well. And then for agency owners, I would just say, if you're going to buy an InsurTech product, my best advice is realize that your change management, changing behavior will actually be the biggest challenge. The tool is not going to be the hard part. It does what it does. Rely on a good technology partner to deliver you a good product and tell you what it does and how to do it. But it's going to be incentivizing your team.
That's a good point. I was just thinking about that. I saw agencies that adopted extremely well. And what they did was, when they bought a new product, they really incentivized their team to use it. And they did all these games. They put parties around it.
Great.
And they made it so much fun. And the whole team, I mean, they just loved it because of that. Not just the owners or the people that bought the software from us, but the agency itself. I mean, they all adopted it that well because of that. But you're right. It's the kind of the naysayers in the change management. And I've had the opposite, where literally, I mean, I've had agency owners call me and just say, this isn't working, blah, 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 blah. Well, why isn't it? Oh, the staff hates it. They don't want to use it.
Right.
And it's well, did you do this? Did you do this? No. Mary just said no.
Right.
Jeff said no.
Right.
And it's just
and Mary's been there for 25 years. And Mary knows where everything is, and we can't upset Mary. And that is, that's a universal truth.
I literally said to a guy one time, and this is no bullshit, I said, well, I can tell who was wearing the pants in that agency.
I mean,
he got mad at me about it, but it's I'm not wrong.
And Mary could be named Steve. It's not about, there's always a person that has a lot of tenure, that has a lot of, indirect clout in the office. And if they aren't on board, if you haven't incentivized them to get out of the way, you got a big problem.
Yeah. So let's get off this. Let's get off the agency adoption topic. We beat this thing to death.
We have.
Look, agents, adopt a solution.
Please.
Just do it, or don't buy it. That's it. It's simple, right?
Yep. And be prepared to get your people to embrace it.
Yes.
And you'll have to win them over.
Yes. They are going to push back, and you may not even see it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a new thing. And some people are scared for a number of reasons, job security, whatever it may be. Right? It's just a new thing they have to learn, and they're already stressed. Every day they end up with an extra 500 activities in their agency management system or whatever it is. And they got to get through that. And so it's tough. It's really tough. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it. And then incent the team to love it.
Yeah.
Right? It'll make all of our lives easier. Agencies, generally speaking, really do like technology. And they do really want technology to help their business. Mm-hmm. There are so many, though, agents that come up with the next bell and whistle that's going to revolutionize the industry. And it does make sense, but there's things that need to be solved in this industry. But going back to your point, outside of you using it, who's going to buy it? Right. And I'll say this too, being that guy and being in that world, it's tough to have an agency and a technology company as well. You need to pick one. You get to branch off, and it doesn't work very well in my experience. And I've seen a lot of companies that have done this. It doesn't work well when you have both. And so you need to step out.
And we know some guys that have We do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do. And it hasn't gone well. It doesn't.
You got to pick one, as you said. I mean, one can go well.
Yes.
If you pick one.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with morphing. Zywave's foundation, they won't mind me saying it all, came from an agency.
Yep.
And it was an agency, and Bill Hack ran that agency, and they created some internal software tools that they realized every employee benefits broker should have.
Yep.
But that transition, when they were doing the juggle, they were, both were suffering a little bit, right? Because they weren't focused on either being a really good agent or being a really good software provider, and so they had to make the full transition. And obviously today, Zywave is a full technology company, but there were days when they weren't. And to your point, I won't name any more current organizations,
right?
But they've struggled with it.
It's really tough, and you really have to step away and focus on one or the other.
Which means you have to give up something you love, right?
Yeah.
They got into both because they were either good at it or loved it or had some passion for it.
Yep.
And so that would be hard for me too.
And I mean, it is successful if you pick I'll just name one, like Raghav at Tarmika.
All right.
He was at his dad's agency.
Yep.
Boom. He's like, I'm going to build this thing because it's better.
Sure.
Because we suck at this, and I think this tool is going to be good.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, but then go do that.
Yep.
Don't do both. Right.
I'll mention another one if we can. Peter McDonald at WonderRight.
There you go. Same thing.
Family agency.
Yep.
He had an interesting idea, but separated, went on his own way. He's committed to one. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter's a good dude. I like Peter. So anyways, fun stuff. So Chip, advice back to the listeners. What would you change in this industry if you could change one thing?
If I could change one thing.
How about in technology? I don't know.
Well,
that's pretty broad.
I mentioned before that I for the IA channel, I'm going to stay in the IA channel for a minute. When we solve this producer availability challenge, that's going to be huge. So that's my personal mission that I can most influence, is to help get opportunities to independent agents that will talk to a customer right now. Yep. We have this huge network of agents. We know what they do. We know where they are. And if we can come up with the right notification systems and kind of borrow from Uber, we will solve that problem. From a technology standpoint, and you and I have talked about this before, but I still think it comes down to integration. I still think that, and I think we're on the cusp, by the way. I think we are headed into a time where, this is me, and you work for one of these companies, so
I do.
so I'm gonna, but I think I think you're on the side of integration. I think you are.
That is our business.
And I think once everybody embraces the idea that all the major systems have to have, I'm going to call it an open API, a secure open API.
Yep.
And of course, they're businesses. They can charge for access to that API. But once everybody embraces that, and it really becomes possible that all these systems can talk to each other relatively easily, it's not a fortune to connect this system to that system and so forth, then we'll start to see best practices around how do you wire these together, which combination of solutions really produce great results. I think we're on the cusp. I've already told people when I've had presentations, I'll say we're entering this era we've been in an era of integration much more rapid in the last 2 or 3 years than it was 6 or 7 years ago. And I think the next 2 years will be definitive. And I really think we'll go over the tipping point. And I want to encourage all of the agency management system providers, especially, not just them though, but get away. Please abandon, and I have to do the same. We've all had ambitions of this monolithic solution stack.
Yeah.
And that's
not a thing.
It's not a thing. It's not going to be a thing.
There's too much. There's too many components.
Too many components. We are too diverse of an industry, as we talked about before. Too many things need to happen. Yeah. The strength of the iChannel is all these different business specializations that we have. And the only way to empower that is to let innovators figure out how to. So I think of it as a patchwork of Legos. This is an old analogy I've used, right? And you got to let the agency or insurance company assemble the right Legos for them. Yeah. But those Legos have to snap together.
Yeah.
Right. We can't just all be out there building hand carved solutions out of a single piece of wood.
That's the issue. Yeah. I think you're right though. I think we're kind of at the tipping point there. And I've been in those conversations, multiple conversations around kind of that monolith thing. And the big systems out there have now realized there's no way. It's not. Focus on the things they're good at. Hey, acquire things that make sense to bolt on as they become successful, but let everything connect.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what in this case, in this, agency kind of technology and insurance technology in our world, especially connected to the distribution, that's the distribution agents
Yep.
are calling for.
Yep.
You know, and so, yeah, everybody knows that they're doing it. I think it's at a tipping point because the bigs that are out there, and I know this because I'm part of this, is they've been held back by the technology itself. People don't realize that. They think it's because they want to hold it. And at one point it was. They didn't want to open it up for competitive reasons. But that was many, many years ago. Now, when you have their top, call it top 50 customers that equal 90% of their revenue, or whatever it is, that are screaming for this type of stuff, they're doing it.
I know. And I know it's not easy. I know that behind the scenes, you know, it's easy because, for those who don't know, and that's your podcast, so they know. You're on the executive committee at Applied.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. You're right there, right?
Oh, yeah. Part of it.
This is something you guys talk about at least once a month.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one thing to say, well, great, we'll have this single, but then you realize, wait, right behind that, or two layers behind that, it gets really complicated, right? Like, how do you get this system and that system? Technically, this data model is a little different than that data model, and there's no easy way to get. I get it.
It's tough.
I get it. I do.
Yeah.
So be honest about that.
Yeah.
I know that, right? You don't want to say it's. You don't want to look in the back room. It's messy back there, right?
It is, and that's everybody. It's not.
It is. It
not
absolutely
it
is everybody. It is absolutely everybody.
These systems have been around a long time, and then when you bring in all the acquisitions over the years, and all of that stuff that's connected up, I mean, different code base, it is complicated.
It is complicated and it is messy.
Yeah.
But you're right. The language of, and maybe that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing there's a lot of very positive language. Mm-hmm. The simpler systems, it's easier for them. So I'm not going to mention names either, but there's some agency management systems that for whom it's easier.
Yeah. 100%.
Right.
Yep.
And for whom they've opened it up. So as long as Applied and Vertafore, let's just the two big dogs in the room. Yep. Zywave, I guess, might be starting to be the third. If you guys, I would love to see it.
It is kind of like a radio right now.
Yeah, it is like radio. It's like, it is. We even have a microphone between us. This feels like radio.
But wire's just coming out.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like you don't know what's next, and so we decided to do it by the seat of our pants and everything. But it's great. We're gonna, 100 years from now, insurance is going to be boring. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great. But it's very interesting right now.
All right. 2 more questions.
You bet.
Question 1. Who do you think I should bring on the show? Who would be good for me to interview?
I mean, so many great people. So I don't know who you've had on here, Reid, but we mentioned Peter McDonald before. I think he's, if you haven't had him on, I would do him. Jason Walker. Have you ever interviewed Jason?
Oh yeah,
Jason
I know Jason. Yeah.
Smart Harbor.
I have not. Yeah, I know Jason.
And now with Agency Revolution, I'm a big fan of Jason's.
He just started the company. Now he's doing like basically consulting for agencies on technology.
Well, he was, and even newer than that, he started. It was called Agency Insurtech, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But then he almost immediately, one of his clients pulled him in. So now he's effectively running Agency Revolution, which used to be run years ago by Michael Jans. And I think he's going to transform that organization. I think that he would be a good guest.
Smart Harbor. A lot of people don't realize that Ilya was involved in that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We all, there's a circle. We were just in a meeting in Alexandria last week. And we were talking about that summit that we had at your office and my office back in 2017. Oh, yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
we were all whiteboarding
fun.
together.
Yeah.
Ilya was there. That's when you said Ilya. I remember that. Ilya was there. The guy that reminded me was an agent from Ohio named Matt Simon.
Oh, yeah.
And he was there that day. And I ran into him last week. And he's like, remember that day?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
I mean, everybody was there. The Ask Kodiak guys were there. Seth Zaremba was there. It was.
Salesforce was there.
Salesforce was there. Let's say they just showed up.
Yeah, they totally did.
It was one of those funny days. But anyway, who should you have? Those two for sure. Those are the two names that pop into my head off the top of my list. Michael Libor.
Yeah, Michael.
Michael's got a lot of interesting ideas for insurance gig. I don't know if I think he's got. I don't want to say it's half. He's going to figure it out. It's one of those companies that's got an interesting core idea. And they're going to figure out how to get where they want to go. But it's about integration. And again, that's one of those topics that I think is really timely. It's his whole business.
Yeah, I know. Totally.
So, and he's a character. And you get a free hat. He sent me a hat.
I already have one.
Oh, you have a hat?
All the things.
All right. Good.
Yeah. He's a good friend.
He's a good guy. Bill Devine. Have you had him?
I haven't had Bill. Bill's a good guy. And he's really promoting the IA channel. And like you said, I mean, they're investing in rating. Most carriers, I actually know for a fact a couple of carriers right now that are the opposite of that, pushing back on it because they want to continue to hold their position of everybody going to their portal. Yeah. Right. And so, Bill's done a really good job.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He's a real innovator, and he kind of sees, I think, well over the horizon. He'll give you that, where's the industry going to be in 3 or 4 years?
Mm-hmm. All right. Last question, Chip. What do you like to drink? Favorite drink? What do you like?
I just got back from Napa, which I had never done a multi-day trip to Napa in my life. I've been there for the one day. You're in San Francisco for business, and somebody says, "Hey, we have the whole afternoon. Let's drive over to Napa," totally. Right?
Multi-day.
But the first multi-day. So if you ask my wife and what we spend money on, she will tell you that Cabernet is apparently my favorite drink. But that's not really true. It's just where some of the money goes. But actually, martini.
Oh, nice.
Right. So again, back to my roots in the insurance industry, back when we actually had real martini lunches, that actually was a real thing. I've never gotten over the glamour of a good vodka martini with 2 blue cheese olives. There's nothing better in the world. Now you can only have 1 or 2 and then you're, time to go to bed, but
I like a lot of things. I'd say overall, that's my drink of choice.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm a gin guy, though.
I'm a vodka guy.
I like gin, dirty, blue cheese olives. I've gone away from blue cheese actually recently. Now it's more just regular.
Okay.
But yeah, love a good martini.
We should have some sometime.
Yeah. Chip, thank you for all the listeners out there. You see Chip out and about, buy Chip a martini. Buy him 4 martinis and see what happens. We'll have a fun night. But
I would enjoy that.
But Chip, thank you for joining. Always a pleasure, and thank you for everything you're doing for the industry. You've done a lot. What a great career, man. You've done some really cool shit, and continue to do so. So, hey, producers out there, your availability sucks.
We're gonna fix it.
We're gonna
sign up for Claim It. We're gonna fix it. Thanks, Reid. I appreciate it. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Chip Bacciocco is an awesome guy, awesome friend, awesome family man, just good dude altogether. He's one of those guys that, although I don't hang out with Chip all the time, he's not one of my best friends, but he's a good friend. I know that Chip would answer the phone and he would help 100% and drop what he's doing. I know myself to be that person as well. And us as good people helping others is what helps this industry. And it helps us as real industry people. There's a lot of people that are part of this industry that I believe aren't industry people. And I think that the Big I is really investing in insurance technology and helping educate their force and help their force in that way with all the stuff they're doing with trustedchoice.com, with what they're doing with ACT now that Chris Klein has just taken the reins over there. Love Chris. Spent a lot of time with Chris over the years. Was at Westfield. Breath of fresh air. Really awesome. With Lou Moran taking the Insurtech task force. Now the Big I doing this Insurtech summit that we were all just at and met a bunch of really cool people. I was on a great panel with some really awesome people within our world, true industry people. Not all of them on the panel. I'm not going to name names, but most of them, but all knew their stuff. Let's say that. But yeah, really good. So they're really going after it, and they're not going after it because it's like something that the Big I should be doing. It's because they really see that it'll help this industry and the brokers. I've spent a lot of time with those guys, professionally, unprofessionally, I guess you'd say. I don't know. And yeah, it's true stuff. So, Chip's been in the industry a long, long time, longer than I expected, longer than I knew. And he knows a lot of people in this industry and has developed a really great reputation, all that said. And he's a good person. It was a pleasure to have him on the show.